Welcome. Great to have you with us tonight. I wish it was to sit around a table and share a meal together like our normal annual banquet, but thank you for taking time to join us for our first ever virtual banquet. We're very excited about what's happening in the incredible ministries of Greater Lansing Youth for Christ and look forward to sharing with you a few of the details. My name is Trent Bushnell. I'm in the 44th year full-time staff here at Youth for Christ, and I am the executive director. We are very excited, as I said, about the things that are happening. We'll get to that momentarily. But I'd like to start out with a video about Youth for Christ USA, just to remind us in part that we are part of a national organization that was founded in 1944. And we were founded here in Lansing in 1948. So we have a very, very rich history of ministry. Let's take a look.
Over 20 million 11 and 19-year-olds here in the United States are considered to be lost, overlooked, unknown to the hope found in Christ. 1.3 million kids are arrested each year. Suicide has become the second leading cause of death among teens, and only less than 5 million teens are connected to any Christ-centered community. Every day, real kids with a story to share wander and search for belonging. Youth for Christ knows the story doesn't end there. Thankfully, God gives YFC opportunities to interrupt the lives of 11 and 19-year-olds everywhere with good news. Over 28,000 YFC ministry leaders know over 154,000 names of kids, and we continue to adapt to vast communities to give life to their story. From the West Coast to the East Coast, the mission is to build relationships with kids. 1 million authentic Christ-sharing relationships. Relationships that build stronger communities where Jesus is the connection point between our story and a kid's story. Consider for a moment how God wants to give life to your story. We know it will take approximately 200,000 ministry leaders to reach 1 million kids. YFC is growing and expanding, meeting kids every day. Now, imagine the kids we haven't met yet. Imagine knowing your involvement can make a difference. The need is clear. In order to reach 1 million kids, we start with God and invite you to serve, to give, to inspire, to engage, to reach young people everywhere.
Hi, my name is Christy Lambright, and I'm the Development Director here at Greater Lansing Youth for Christ. I also work in Charlotte as a Campus Life Director there. I'm so thankful to be a part of this Greater Lansing Youth for Christ team, and also to be a part of a national movement that is expanding and growing, striving to reach 1 million kids across the nation, and not using COVID as an excuse to sit back and relax and twiddle our thumbs. For many generations, we've been seeing that youth have been leaving the church. A recent study just came out and showed that for the first time in 20 or 30 years, students, young people are not leaving the church because they never were a part of it. Now, just as much or more than ever, teens need to hear the life-changing message of Jesus Christ. And that's why we're here tonight. Normally, we would be gathered together with around 300 of you all dressed up, eating a delicious dinner provided by David Chapman, hearing about the ministry that God is doing here in Lansing, and raising funds to sustain the ministry throughout the year. While we're sad that we cannot be doing that in person with many of you, we're super excited that we're able to have friends from across the country join us to hear about the work that is happening here. We'd like to give a little shout out to our friends in Puerto Rico, California, North Carolina, Tennessee, Indiana, Ohio, and all over the country. We're so excited to have you, and we're glad that you're a part of this. Throughout the evening, you will see a link appear at the bottom of your screen. That is a link to our website. That link will allow you to connect more with us, whether it's to donate, volunteer, or let us know of some other way that you want to be a part of the team. We'll also have that link displayed in the comments of this video as well. Like I said before, I love this ministry and I'm so proud to be a part of it. All of us here at Greater Lansing YFC, from paid staff to volunteers, are passionate about the work that God has called us to, and we love what we do, but we couldn't do it without you. We need like-minded partners such as yourself to come alongside us and empower and enable us to continue reaching the youth in our community. So I ask that you would sit back, relax, enjoy the next 20 or so minutes as we talk about the work that is happening here in Lansing YFC, and I ask that you consider how you and your family can be a part of this incredible work that God has called us to.
Josiah LeBlanc, and I have been working with JJM since I started 2 years ago, so going into my third year.
My name is Debbie Conroy. I've been with JJM for going almost 24 years in January that I've been on staff. I
currently work through the pandemic with just Eaton County. I've worked with Ingham County also in the past.
Eaton County, Ingham County, we do go into Highfield.
So every week I call to Eaton County using Zoom, or they use Google Duo since Zoom kind of has issues with like hacking. So they have like a Google Duo, which is a FaceTime call essentially with the one facility cell phone that is used for students. And so I call in and literally watch them on a video chat, and we come up with some sort of game to play across the board. Sometimes I send them a document, sometimes I have like card games, whatever, that we play through the phone, which are very interesting. We do that, and then we still dive into a Bible story.
I keep track of kids in the prison system through an email called JPay, and a lot of them have been emailing me telling how it's been for them during that time, and I write them back, and I send out letters about once every 2 months to everyone who's incarcerated or in just a placement program.
I think one of the big things that people need to know about juvenile students is that they are normal kids that were put in the wrong circumstance. So many times we think of students as, or like juvenile students specifically, as like the troublemakers in their classroom, had issues with things at home, have like a lot of factors that count against them. And yeah, that can be true, but a lot of times these students will be in the facility because they can't afford a lawyer to get out of certain circumstances that other kids can. I know some students that have parents in their lives that are like, were able to put up money for lawyers that kept them out of the facility, that put them on probation instead. And most people don't realize that there's some cultural factors into this, as well as some financial factors that changes how certain students end up being treated and where they end up going.
I would say that the majority of the students who end up in the juvenile justice facilities, 95%, probably don't come from homes with both biological parents. Usually it's only one parent. Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes they're just running the streets and living who knows where.
So there's one student, we will call him Jacob for the purpose of this video. So Jacob was a guy that was in the Eaton facility for a long time, couldn't earn his days, had like some anger issues, was really frustrated. He ended up being there, instead of the 90 days he earned, he was there for almost 150 days. In the process of, like, we enjoyed hanging out together. Like, I would go in and do gym with students. Sometimes rather than just a lesson, I would stay after and we would, you know, shoot hoops in the gym or play other games that the staff would put on. In the process of, we became friends, and he, being from the Lansing area, eventually connected with me outside of the facility to come to Campus Life. And in the process of coming to Campus Life, the only times he's ever come to Campus Life was the night that we shared the gospel. And the second time that he came was a couple weeks later when we did our next gospel presentation. And I remember laughing, saying, like, God only wants you to hear this truth right now, Jacob. I think that might mean something long term. And so we had a chance just to pray together before he left that night and talk about what that meant for his family. I've seen him walking around the neighborhoods, and we get to catch up on life and talk about how he's doing now as he is like graduated from school and is moving to his adult life, and how it has a whole new purpose because Jesus has been involved.
Just to show what it means, I'd say to kids, a couple years ago I was going into the courthouse downtown to get a birth certificate, and there was a guy standing outside, and I just nodded and said, "It's a nice day, isn't it?" And he said, "I know you don't remember me, but I was in Eaton County when you came in there." And so I stopped and I asked his name, and he told me, in the right away I remembered his name, but it had been 12 years since he had been in there, so now he was in his late 20s. And he just said, "I want you to know that that was the highlight of our week, every week when you came in." He said, "It just meant a lot to me, and I learned a lot from it." So I do think that matters to them, that once a week time, that to play games, talk about what it means to know God, and they don't seem to forget. So.
Welcome to Campus Life.
Welcome to Campus Life.
Welcome to Campus Life. Welcome to Campus Life.
Welcome to Campus Life.
Welcome to Campus Life.
Welcome to Campus Life!
Welcome to Campus Life.
Welcome to Campus Life.
Students, they are our future, but less and less of them are followers of Christ. This generation of youth are the least churched we have ever seen, and almost 30% of them identify as atheists. In the United States, there are over 69,000 middle school and high schools. In those schools are over 24 million students between the ages of 11 and 17. Of those students, at least 15 million do not regularly attend church. Campus Life, a ministry of Youth for Christ, has reached out to these kids for over 45 years. There is Campus Life ministry spanning the country from San Diego, California to Long Island, New York, and everywhere in between. With over 1,000 ministry sites, we engage over 100,000 students each week, and that number is growing daily. The question remains, with so many lost students, how can we possibly reach them all? How does Youth for Christ reach this skeptical generation that is unaware of their need for a Savior? We don't wait for students to come to us. We intentionally go into their world in order to initiate new relationships, whether it be on campus, hanging out at the skate park, or rooting for their team on a Friday night. We go where students are. As these relationships form, students enter into the community of campus life. One natural way that happens is through Club. Club is a weekly high-energy gathering where community is built and God's story is told. We also create opportunities for students to engage in deeper relationships with campus life leaders through shared experiences. We spend time with students to earn the right to be heard, model Christ-like behavior, and be a listening ear. As relationships grow, we connect with students and give them individual attention to ask questions, share doubts, and navigate life. We also provide opportunities for students to gather in small groups where we discuss relevant issues that they face and their spiritual needs. As we do this, we help them connect their story to God's story. Trips are an opportunity to bring students out of their environment. Through unforgettable activities, Christ-sharing relationships, and a clear presentation of the gospel, we see God change lives forever. Throughout this journey, we work together with the local church to help raise up lifelong followers of Jesus. But that is just the beginning. We engage Christian students who are committed to personal growth and influencing the people around them for Christ. These students then join us in the mission of sharing God's story with their friends and raising up lifelong followers of Jesus. Many of them even return to Youth for Christ as volunteer or staff leaders. So, with so many lost students, how do we reach them all? By empowering a relational army of student and adult leaders to engage students in authentic, Christ-sharing relationships, one student at a time.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Bushon, and I am the ministry coordinator here with Lansing Campus Life. And I love that video because it shows well that our staff go where students are. We don't just have a weekly meeting and hope students show up. We go where they are. We meet them at their games, concerts, maybe even at the drive-thru while they're working their McDonald's shift. And this is happening at 11 ministry sites in Lansing, high school and middle school, and we have over 50 volunteers and staff, one of which, brand new since May, is Carlos Baroa at Holt High School. Carlos, tell us why Campus Life for you?
I mean, honestly, just kind of what you touched on. I think for me, I love that we go where students are at and that we're in their lives, we're investing in them, and we're loving on them, and we're in the trenches with them. And Lord willing, we point them to the life-changing message of Jesus Christ through doing that.
That's awesome. So why do you think an organization like Campus Life is so important?
Recently, we had our virtual regional leadership conference, and we learned that 2/3 of every teen in a survey that they took reported that they only had one or less influencing adult in their lives, one or less, which is crazy. We learned a couple years ago that for a student to thrive the most in their lives, they need at least 5 or more influential adult in their lives. And so it was interesting to even learn that a third of the students had reported that they were lonely. And so I think that's why we're here, and that's why I think Campus Life is so vital and important, and that's why I think schools need Campus Life, and that's why I'm so excited to be a part of Campus Life.
Yeah, for sure. We got some work to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you follow us on social media, which you should, little plug, you'll see a lot of pictures and videos from fun trips, events, maybe weekly club meetings, and it looks like we're having a lot of fun, which we are, but it's so much more than that. We are giving students a safe space where they can be themselves, and address issues they're facing, but then most importantly, we help them see how the Bible relates to those very issues, which is huge. So in case you wondered, with all the COVID crazy, we're still here. Ministry is still happening, and a lot of people have asked, have you had to lay people off? Have you had to cut back on hours? And we're super pumped to tell you no, and quite the opposite's happening. We're hiring more staff. So like I said, we just hired Carlos, and then I'm super excited for you to meet another new hire, our newest new hire, Jordan Mears, our first ever middle school coordinator. So Jordan, for you, what drew you to Campus Life?
I mean, I feel like we're going to sound like a broken record, but I got the opportunity to volunteer earlier this year at the first middle school site in this area at Grand Ledge, and we actually get to meet on site at the school, and just something about doing ministry where the students were at, seeing them, maybe getting the chance to interact with kids you wouldn't get a chance to interact with anywhere else was what drew me here. Just those opportunities to do life with the students where they were and meet them where they were with the gospel was too much for me to pass up. I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. So we have a lot of high school staff, and we love working with high school students. Why middle school?
I mean, kind of because of the way you just said middle school. That's how people feel about that age group. And I just remember being that age, and I remember that's where a concerned, influential adult got a hold of me. I started pouring into my life, and that's when I saw the most change in my life. So I want to meet those kids where they're at. And today in 2020, kids are facing the issues that we thought were just high school issues earlier and earlier and earlier in life. So the sooner that we can catch them with this positive message of the gospel, I think the better. So if nobody else will do it, sign me up, because I love that age group and I love getting to interact with those kids.
That is awesome. We're super glad you're here. So obviously starting a new ministry in the middle of COVID is a little tricky, but tell us, what is the vision for Middle School Campus Life looking down the road?
So we're super excited to already be in 2 different schools. We're in Grand Ledge, we're at Waverly, and we already actually have the go-ahead for a couple more school districts. So as we move towards the end of the year and maybe schools start opening up a little bit more, we're going to get some of those different sites staffed and hopefully have 4 to 5 middle school sites by the end of this school year, which would be really exciting.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So it sounds like we need some more volunteers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really awesome. Well, we feel so blessed to be a part of this awesome staff team, and especially blessed that we're still able to do ministry with students.
Speaking of students, check out some of these students that we have the pleasure of seeing each week. Check out this video.
There is a popular passage in the book of Luke which comes from a question asked to Jesus. A man asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" in response to "Love your neighbor as yourself," a popular teaching from Jesus. So Jesus goes on to explain this parable of a man who was robbed and beaten and left on the side of a road to die. A couple people walked past him who were supposedly supposed to be good and help him out, but didn't. Then comes along a Samaritan man, somebody who's marginalized in the society, somebody who's looked down upon. He comes, mends the wound of this man, picks him up, puts him on his donkey, and takes him to the nearest inn. While at the inn, he tells the innkeeper, "Put him on my tab." When Jesus has finished explaining the story, he tells the man who asked him the question, "Who do you think was the neighbor in the story?" The man says, "The one who showed mercy." In which Jesus responded, "Go and do likewise." I know you're probably thinking that because of all the good things that we do, I'm going to relate us to the Good Samaritan. But what if I told you that we're the ones left on the side of the road, left to die, robbed and beaten by this world, until Jesus came along and picked us up? The logo we use here at YFC, which you've probably seen a couple times already in this video, consists of 3 circles. The 3 circles is symbolic to 3 stories. The first story is my story, our story, which, like many of the people that I work alongside, were left broken, beaten, and hurt until Jesus came along, mended our wounds, and took us in. And now, because of his love, we are forever intertwined with his story. which leads us to why we do what we do, which leads us to the next story, their story. Stories we get to be involved with every week. Stories we get to hear, whether it's at a football game, at a high school, middle school, detention center, or at a coffee shop. Stories of trauma and of love. Stories of victory and losses. Story of pain and of joy. Stories of abandonment and acceptance. Stories of depression and encouragement. Stories we get to hear because God was able to share His story with us. And which is why we build authentic, Christ-sharing relationships with Him. And which is why eventually God's story becomes intertwined with all of our stories. Just like in the parable of the Good Samaritan. God met us where we were at, which is why we meet students where they're at.
So there's the quick overview. Juvenile Justice Ministries at 5 area institutions. Campus Life for students from 11 area high schools. And now Campus Life Middle School at 2 middle schools. Our paid staff, 18 paid staff, and several dozen volunteers in our last year of ministry ending June 30th actually met by name almost 1,000 area teenagers. They built authentic Christ-sharing relationships, our new terminology, but a real relationship. They were actually involved with 620 students, and we know of at least 72 that made a first-time commitment to Jesus Christ. Our Campus Life theme this year is recalculating. The obvious GPS reference is a great word picture of following Jesus. We may not be exactly sure where we are in the map or where we're even going, but GPS will always get us there. In our relationship with Jesus, God is always ready to offer correction and direction to be the person He created us to be. So our staff are there with students every day, sharing a God who created, loves, and really has a plan for a teenager's life. If you give a gift tonight, you can do simply by going to lansingYFC.net, then click on Give Now. Then you can either on the pull-down menu click on Banquet, which goes to our general fund, 85% of which goes to staff anyway. We are blessed with no debt and extremely low overhead. So thank you for whether it's a one-time gift tonight or even more importantly, to be honest, a pledge, a monthly pledge into our future. Thank you for considering that. If you already support one of our staff or have been invited tonight by one of them, their names will also be there on the drop-down menu, and simply click on that and then set up how you would like to give. Thank you for being a part of this tonight. I hope the information's been good. Hope the opportunity to get involved has been good. But thank you for being here tonight. Good night.